What's up, guys? I'm Trey Smith.
And I'm Bailey Smith.
And we are the owners of Recaptured Values. And you are watching Teach It Tuesday.
Hey everybody, it's Teach It Tuesday. And today we're going to be going over a tutorial for knotted overalls. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Back in Babes Boutique. Tanner's is the owner. She's awesome. She's one of our members. She's doing some great things. So check her out. Back in Babes Boutique. We'll link it down below to help you get there. But check them out. They're super awesome. Moving on, knotted overalls. I believe this is actually just called overalls from Lowland Kids Patterns. I wouldn't call this video a hacked video. It's just the way I do the overalls. So I like to do mine fully lined because I find that using the lining that's like the half lining that they have on the pattern, I personally just don't like that. It's just a personal opinion. You can do it like that if you want to, but I like to fully line this. So that means the lining goes all the way and you don't have to worry about it flipping up or, you know, showing like a crease right here underneath the overalls. It's just my personal opinion. So I'm going to show you how to do a fully lined overall. Knotted front, we're going to do some eyelets. I think that's what they're called. No. Grommets. That's what they're called. Grommets. We're going to be doing grommets, which this isn't a compliant option unless you find compliant grommets or you do the testing for your grommets. You pay to have the testing done for your metal, the lead testing and everything like that. There's some more testing I think you have to do. This was done on Amazon, so just forewarning, this is not a compliant method. You would need to do, like I said, you need to get this stuff tested or find a compliant vendor to get these from, or you need to use a buttonhole instead of the grommet. I like to do this, just a forewarning. Okay. So I'm going to cut the fabric in here because we had a few people say that they liked us cutting the fabric, so I'm going to keep trying to do that. So here's the pattern. This is all I use, this right here, because the straps are in the cut chart. So I literally am going to cut 4 of these on the fold, and this is the fold right here on this side. I'm going to cut 4 of these on the fold. I'm going to be using French terry today, and this French terry was bought at Knit Pop a long time ago. It's this really pretty leopard print French terry. So we'll link Knit Pop down below. They have really gorgeous French terry. So let's get started. So as with any garment, we got to make sure that the stretch is going the correct way. So with French terry, it's just like any other fabric. There's a selvage edge, which typically goes along the grain line. So here's the selvage edge right here. And if I pull it here, it's not going to stretch really at all. But if I pull here, it's stretching pretty good. French terry is my favorite one to use. With this, you can use pretty much any stretchy fabric though, will work. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that my stretch is going this way so that when I cut on my fold, the stretch will be going the correct way. Make sure there's no wrinkles in my fabric. Smooth out the wrinkles here. Pull it up just a little bit so I'm not cutting to the edge of my cut mat. And then make sure that my pattern piece fits. Fold it a little bit more here. And then you're going to do this 4 times with this piece here. Alright, and so of course I'm going to use my pattern weights. And then we'll zoom past cutting this really fast. But as always, I like to cut a rectangle just to make a clean cutting surface for later. Of course, I need to change my blade here. Alright, and then you cut all around except for this fold line, which is right here to right here. So I'm going to cut this top piece here. And I am doing a 2T size. Yep. I really need a new blade here. I cut some paper with it this morning and it's not cutting super great. Alright, so we got 1, now we need 3 more of these. So we'll do that super fast. And this piece here is just the overall body knotted front overalls. And it does say to cut 2 on the fold for the instructions, but we're doing 4 on the fold because we're doing fully lined. So this is the only piece you will need to print out. And for the 2T, it was just 4 pages. Really 3 would have worked, but I went ahead and cut the 4th, sorry. Okay. Do the same thing. Not really sure how that wasn't a full rectangle there, but whatever. Cut it as a rectangle with that. All right. Well, this stuff keeps moving. There we go. Okay. 2 more. Yeah, super pretty. We have this. I go ahead and fold this out. We're gonna see what we do. Done. This is really not good. Rectangle here. I think we'll get exactly how it was a little bit under a yard. A little bit under a yard. Alright, I'm gonna do rectangle on this one. Okay, fine, okay. Yeah. Just move it out of the way. Careful not to cut fingers. Go that way. And last little piece here. Okay, and then cut the last one out here. And the last thing cut out is these straps. So last one here, pull it over. And again, this does take, since I got the fold on this side, I gotta flip it over. This does take a little bit more fabric. I mean, it does take a lot more fabric. Not a lot more. It takes more fabric to do it this way, but I do find it better because the lining doesn't flip up on the inside. I don't care how I did it, unless I top stitched it down, which it looked kind of weird in my opinion. If I top stitched the lining down, this didn't really work, in my opinion. So I just like to line the whole thing. Plus it's really good for winter, especially if you're using like a thicker knit like French terry, or like a sweater knit would be nice too, or like a thermal knit would be nice too. But like I said, French terry is one of my favorites to do for these, and joggers. French terry is good for that too. Okay, so we've got all 4 pieces here. Now we need the straps. And so how I do the straps, I like to cut my straps. You can do it however you want to do it as far as grain line and stretch go for the straps. I'm going to do it with the stretch going the longest part of the strap, just so it'll give it a little bit of leeway when it goes over the shoulders, so it's not really super tight and hurting the shoulders. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my straps. And the straps measurements are actually in the cut chart. So we're doing a 2T. It says to cut 4 for the knotted front overalls. You cut 4 strap pieces at 1.75, which is, it says that above the cut chart, it says for newborn to 2T, you cut at 1.75 width. And then I think the bigger sizes, it's 2 width. So 1.75 width by 11.75 length. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and just cut here like this. I'm gonna waste a little bit of fabric doing it like this, but this is how I just find to get the best lines here. I got this ruler from Hobby Lobby. It was not in the sewing department. It was like in the drafting department or whatever. I don't know how you say that. So I'm gonna cut a straight line here, just to make that my straight line to start with. And it's 1.75. So I'm gonna match up my lines here on my cut mat, And I know that this is gonna be 1. And then I'm gonna do that again. And I know that if I cut here, that will get me what I need, because this ruler is 1.5 inches. That's why I love this ruler so much. Okay, and then I just keep doing that to cut 4 strips, 4 equal strips. I'm gonna do that one more time here. Last strap. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut right here. And then I'm gonna move all of this out of the way and make sure that these are lined up here. Okay, so these all need to be 11. So these are like obviously too long, but no problem. I can fix that real fast. I'm just gonna go ahead and stack them all on top of each other. I'm gonna make them 11.75. And you will need some interfacing. You don't have to use it for the straps, but you do want to use it for the enforcement of the buttonholes on the sides, or if you choose to use the grommets, you're going to want to use stabilizer interfacing for it. So, all right. That was a really crooked cut. We'll clean it up with the serger, no problem. Okay. So we have our 4 straps and our 4 pieces for the overalls. So first you need to get your straps together. Strap. I'm not going to use interfacing for this just because, like I said, I feel like this fabric is okay to do it without it. You can absolutely add the interfacing with the straps. I've done it both ways. Either way is fine. I'm just not going to do it. So what you do is you're going to serge or zigzag stitch all around and leave one of the short ends open. Just leave one of them open so that you can flip it out. And so we're going to tuck the one open end into the seam when you put the straps onto the actual garment. So let's go ahead and get these straps done. I'm going to do it really fast and come back. Okay, so here are the straps, and this is what I meant by serge or zigzag stitch. Is kind of shifting a little bit, which is really funny. They're kind of wiggly, but you're going to want to serge here, here, and here, or replace that with a zigzag stitch if you don't have a serger, and leave one of the bottoms open, one of the short ends open, so that you can take something. You can even use your finger, that's fine. I like to use something that's like a marker or something with a dull end, and I kind of just push it back into itself to flip it. They have turners, actual tools that do that. I find this works just fine. And you just push the corners out and then flip it, and then you would press this, and you can top stitch it down if you want to do that. The same thing with this one. And then I'm going to top stitch it, and literally all you do is you'll press this down. I'm not really going to press it. I'm just going to manipulate it with my fingers here to get it all the seam as tight as it'll go on each side, and then just top stitch down. It'll be a eighth of an inch seam allowance on the sides here, and I'm again leaving. I'm going to leave this open. It really doesn't matter if you close it now or not, but I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have these straps here. I've top stitched them down, and this is what they look like when they're done when they're top stitched down. They just look a lot more presentable, and they don't roll kind of like a tube. They look more flat. So top stitching is completely optional. I just find it makes it look better in my opinion. You don't have to top stitch. So here's a piece of interfacing. This is fusible interfacing. We will link what we use down below. It's Pellon Featherweight fusible interfacing. I can't remember the number just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and cut just a piece, just about 2 inches by like 1.5. So just 2 squares. That's the 2 squares that I'm going to do, and that's what's going to go on my actual piece here. Okay, so the straps, let's go ahead and grab a piece. Here is a piece here, the body, And we'll go ahead and get our straps pinned in. So this is going to be the back piece because the straps are going to go on the back and come over the shoulder. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to pin your straps on here. And so I leave about 1/4 inch on the side here. You can do a little bit more depending on the seam allowance that you choose. I do believe their patterns are 1/4 inch seam allowance here. So you leave 1/4 inch right here so that your seam allowance can catch that part. And so I like to just go ahead and pin down so that your pin won't get caught in the side here. And I'm going to pin down here as well. Okay, and then you will put another piece here. Right sides together. You will just match up all your pieces here. And you just make sure that you serge or zigzag stitch all the way around, catching these straps. 1/4 inch seam allowance. You're going to serge or zigzag stitch here, here, and here. Alright. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get this prepared as well. So this is going to be the front piece. And so what you would do is, of course, you would put one piece down. But before we do this next one, you are going to need to iron on one of these pieces your interfacing to stabilize the grommet or the buttonhole. Either way you do this, you need some interfacing or stabilizer or something fusible to put onto your fabric so that it doesn't rip apart. So what I like to do is I like to just put the squares right here on the wrong side because you don't want them to show on the outside, and you just iron them down like the instructions say for whatever type of interfacing or stabilizer that you're using. So give me just a second to iron these down. Okay, so I've got my interfacing iron on here, and so what you're going to do is exactly the same thing that you did with the back except for no straps on the front, and then you're just going to do the exact same thing here. Put your right sides together and serge along the same edge here. Just the top bib part here. This part here, here, and here. Again, if you don't have a serger, you can do a zigzag stitch. That's perfectly fine. So we're going to go over to the serger. Okay, so let's get started here. We're going to do the front piece first. So you don't have to worry about any straps shifting underneath it because that's just this part here. So 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can pin if you need to. I typically don't with stuff like this. You just make sure that your edges are lined up here. And then I like to go ahead and do the straight edge here. And then the last curve here. And then snip your tails if they're not really going to matter. And so that's what it looks like. Serged over to here and serged over to here. Let me clip this tail here. Alright, so you're going to do the exact same thing with the back here, except for you're just going to make sure that you have your straps not caught in the side seam here. So, exact same thing. Remember the 1/4 inch seam allowance. You may have to pull your strap over just a little bit more because if you didn't pin it like perfectly, it will move a little bit. So make sure before you sew or serge over that you've made sure that it's where you want it to be. Alright. And so for this one, we're going to have to make sure that both sides are where you want it to be. Make sure that your strap's not wonky and laying flat. It may take a little bit to pull it through. Be careful not to cut your finger under that blade. And so then you'll fix the other side Make sure that all your edges are lined up. Alright. And then you'll do this side here. Just make sure that you don't catch the strap in this side seam, so push it over a little bit. Get that 1/4 inch there. I might have gotten it a little too much, but it's okay. Alright, and then you flip it out. I think I may have caught my strap in that, but it's okay. Alright, so then you'll flip it out and be careful because remember you did pin your straps. So you will need to unpin them. Alright. Same thing on this side. Make sure that you unpin your strap. And this one I did catch. So super simple. I'll just unpick it here. Unpick it till you got it where you want it to go. Pull these strings. And then you'll have to redo it. If you end up doing what I just did, you'll need to fix that. Alright, so that's where you want it to go. So let's go back through here. And so pretty much I caught it in the side seam like I said don't do. But easy fix. Remember, if you mess up, it's just fabric. Breathe, make sure it's pushed over. And then serge a little bit back over it so it doesn't unravel. Alright, and then I will tuck this tail here that I started. I'll go ahead and tuck it here, and this is the nitpicker. You open up the little hook here, open up the hook, put it into the fabric here. I like to sandwich mine in the middle, then poke it out somewhere close to the tail that you want to pull in and pull it through like that. And so that tail is tucked, and let's see if now the strap is not. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let me just make sure I clip all these little strings that I snipped earlier so that they aren't showing crazy. All right, good to go. So that's how the straps will look here, and you flip the front piece out, and you want to push the corners. You can use either something pointy, like I'm going to use my snippers here. Make sure that you close them because you will hurt your stuff here, and be very gentle because you can stab through your fabric. I'm just going to use this to push my corners out here. The strap ones did okay because the corners are the straps, but these ones need a little bit of finesse. Alright, so we got your corners out here, and you'll know that your grommets are going here and here. But we're not going to do that yet. We're going to go ahead and put this bad boy together. And how you do that is, so now you're going to, this is the back with the straps. So that's how it looks, right? And so you have two pieces now for the back. You have this piece and this piece that you serge together right here. It's the serge seam. So you're going to open that up like this. Make sure that you guys can see me. So I've got this opened up in my lap like this. So here's the bib part with the straps. So this is a leg and this is a leg, and this is just the same, the back. So here is the bibbed front. Same thing, I have two pieces for the front, the lining and the right side. And so I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this time I'm going to do it right sides together. So now I have one front and one back leg here, right sides together. And I have one back and one front side here, right sides together. And so you guessed it, I'm literally going to serge or zigzag stitch. I'm going to put right sides together here and go all the way across, making sure that this seam right here is in the middle here. And then I'm going to zigzag stitch or serge all the way down here on both sides. Okay, so let's start. So keep it holding it together. And so I've got the entire thing right sides together. Just be careful and make sure that this seam right here is lined up. So that's going to be like the armpit of the front and the back there. So I'm going to make sure that's lined up. We're to our armpit seam there. Make sure everything's still lined up. And almost to the end of one side, and we do the same thing with the other side. Okay. So then that is the entire side here and here. And so then you flip it and do the exact same thing on the other side. Make sure your straps are tucked in there and don't get stuck or don't get caught in a seam. But again, you just unpick and do exactly what I did if that happens. But try not to make it happen so that you don't have to unpick. Alright. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Then next you're going to do the crotch seams on each side, and then basically you'll stuff one in the other. So this is one front and one back here. This is pretty much either the front or the lining, whichever you want it to be. So this is one side, and then on the other side you should have the exact same thing on the other side. So we'll just do the crotch curve here. Make sure you get all the pieces. Make sure that you get the crotch curve pretty good underneath the serger or zigzag stitch, because that's the spot where it pops the most. So you want to... Sorry. Alright, so that's what it's going to look like when you get it done. I'm so sorry, I just realized that that was not on me while I was serging that. But I was literally just going down. You guys saw pretty much what I did. You just didn't see me doing it. So that's one side there. And again, this is what I was talking about here. This curved part here, that's where the seams typically pop the most during wear. So make sure that you get a good strong seam there. And so we're going to do the last crotch curve here. And then all that's left will be flipping this thing out, hemming the bottom, and putting the grommets on. Super simple pattern. Alright, so I'm just going to clip all my tails here. These and like these. Alright, and then so now what you're gonna do is just stuff it kind of inside of each other. First you have to pull it right side out. And so I'm just gonna go in a leg here and try to find a strap wherever they are. I think they're gonna be over here. Try to find a strap to pull it, to make it go. Right sides, like so. And then you're gonna just kind of stuff it. Find the spots that you want to stuff. You're gonna try to stuff the legs in each other. It takes a little finesse to get it to work. But there's a leg, and there's a leg, and you just have to flip it through a leg. You flip it right side out through a leg here. And so technically this could be fully reversible if you figured out a way to hem the bottom here so that it wouldn't show on either side. But this could be reversible, because the only seam now showing would be the hem on the bottom. Because if you flip this like so. That's the inside. And so, yeah. All right, so like what I like to do for the, to hem the bottom here, I like to go ahead and zigzag stitch around. I'm going to make sure that my seams are matching up here, like so, and I'm just gonna zigzag stitch around here. I'm gonna loosen my tension just a little bit because I want to make sure that it stretches. Because stretching is important for the ankles here. Alright, and so I'm literally just serging around the edge. I'm cutting off maybe a 1/4 inch just to straighten up my seam. Alright, let me grab my nitpicker here and tuck that. And again, like you could do, you could have hemmed this, you could have folded it under and then did like a hem on both sides. You could have folded both sides up, like the lining part here and the inside part here. You could have folded them down, kind of sandwiched them together, and then zigzag stitched around, and then the finish for the bottom would have been exactly the same, so that you could make it fully reversible. Alright, so we're doing the exact same thing with this other one here, but I just like this finish because, I mean, this doesn't have to be fully reversible. It's the same print, but if you were to use a different print for the lining like we just did, like I said, you could, so here's what it would look like if you were to, you would fold this down like a 1/4 inch, and you'd fold this side down like a 1/4 inch, and then you would top stitch with a sewing machine, or yeah, sewing machine would be best, and then both sides would have a zigzag stitch finish and the seam would be finished, and you could do it fully reversible like that. But like I said, I'm not going to do that, but that is totally an option. A little bit more work, totally an option. And then the person who, if you sell these or you gift these or you're doing it for your child, your child would have 2 different pairs of overalls in one, which would be cool. So then, as always, I'm just going to go over here, tuck this tail first, and zigzag stitch this down. What I like to do then is just fold it under here, and then zigzag stitch about 1/2 inch up. I'm going to zigzag stitch this down, and then you'll see a zigzag stitch on this side, and you'll see the serged edge on this side. Again, like I said, you could absolutely make this fully reversible, which would be super cute. So let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, so we're here at the sewing machine, and like I said, all I'm going to do is, there's a rogue string there, I'm just going to fold this in about 1/2 inch. I eyeball it. You can measure if you need to. And I'm just going to use a zigzag stitch, 5 width, 2 length, and then just zigzag this thing, fold it up. I am stitching the underneath here so that I can make sure that I'm stitching the seam down. Alright, and see, that's what it looks like on the outside. And then that's what it looks like on the inside there. And then you would just clip your tails there. So I'm going to do the other side real fast. Exact same way. Rogue string there. Alright, and then you just clip your little ends here and you're done. So let's go look at the finished project and then put the grommets on. And for this, you would just top stitch a tag in, or stitch a tag in here. For fully reversible, it's going to be a little bit difficult to put a tag in, so I would probably recommend like an iron-on if you're doing that, but you would just top stitch a tag on somewhere. The customer will likely remove it, depending. Okay, so here is how they look when you got that much done, which is all we have to do now is add the grommets. So you are going to lay them out like so. Let me turn the camera down so you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna grab my little grommet kit here. I'm gonna grab my grommet kit here. And it comes with this, which is supposed to like cut out the circle. I don't really like this. It's not like, it's kind of dull. So I like to just make a little point. And I kind of eyeball it. You can measure again if you want to do that. But what you're gonna need is you're gonna need 2 of these ones with the bigger piece. I don't know the name of this stuff. And then you're gonna need 2 of the flat ones here that come in this little plastic bag. 2 of those. And then it comes with this cool little like hammer thingy and this thing that you set them with. So first I'm going to, all these strings. I'm going to take this and I'm going to decide that I want it to be about right there is where I want my grommet to be. And so I'm going to hold this like this, and I'm just going to snip a tiny little opening here. I'm going to make it just a smidge bigger. And don't make it too big, make it big enough, kind of make like a square opening. And it needs to be tiny, I mean like super tiny. Maybe if you buy this kit, you'll get a better blade thing than I did, but mine doesn't really cut. So I like to go ahead and snip. And then you just want the hole to be big enough to put the biggest loop through here. And be careful because this metal will like, it can hurt you, so. Because it is not dull, it is kind of sharp, so. All right. And once you get it, the opening to be about the size of the circle here, you'll put, where'd it go? This down, but we're gonna do the other side because I like the way it looks. I like this side going in here because the other side folds. So I like to put the part that has the bigger ring that you're gonna hold on to here, the bigger ring part, you guys can see that. I like to put that down. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna put that down onto this metal thing. You're gonna wanna place that onto that. Pull your fabric down here. Let me give you guys a better visual. So this should be a better visual here. So pretty much I've got this part in. This is the right side of the garment. So I've got this part sticking down and it's got the bigger loop, the thicker loop part. And I'm going to put it on top of this metal thing that came with this little kit, the grommet kit here. And I'm going to kind of pull the fabric down around this loop here. I'm going to put this on top of it like this. And then I'm going to grab this thing that came with it and I'm going to stick this edge here down into this. And then you'll need a mallet or a hammer. I'm gonna use a mallet. Alright, so here's my mallet and I'm just going to hit this pretty hard. And it will push that ring down. I need to do a little bit harder. And it will push that ring down and it will put that on there. So now that's how you attach a grommet, and we'll do the same thing with the other side. Try to make it match where you're gonna snip it. Then so you got your 2 grommets on there, and then you will just kind of push this through your grommet. Ooh, dropping the stuff. You will push it through just like this. And then you will just tie a knot like so. then you can adjust the knot however you need to. When you get this on your person that's wearing it, you can adjust this knot. So don't tie your knot too tight. But then that's how it looks. Super cute. That's how you do the knotted overalls, guys, with the Grommets. You can do buttonholes instead of Grommets. I like the way the Grommets look. Again, it's not a super compliant option. It's really not a compliant option at all. But if you find a compliant Grommet vendor or manufacturer or whatever, somebody who's tested their Grommets and willing to give you that information, you can do that, or otherwise use a buttonhole. Super cute. And again, like I said, that would be fully reversible with the Grommets, especially if you did that part that I showed you at the bottom and you used a different fabric for the lining. But they're fully lined. You don't have to worry about anything flipping up here and creating a crease on the tummy. I just love these. They're perfect. You can pair with a long sleeve shirt. You can wear without anything underneath it. They're super cute. So Loveland Kids overalls. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. And again, we'll see you guys next Tuesday.